Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-minute story challenge. We have a great evening planned for you. Now, we've got four storytellers who are going to share true stories from their life. And in the room, we have got Mel Kelly, a renowned comedian from Munich. So good evening, everybody, and let's look forward to this great evening. So the evening is going to start. We're going to start off with two stories here, and then I'll be calling in Mel Kelly. With Mel Kelly, I'll be having a chat about comedy and about stories and comedy, and if there's a mix, if there's a meeting point or whatever. So let's see how that talk goes. And then after that, we'll come back to stories, and we'll close out the evening with Mel Kelly again. Are we ready? Yes, we are ready. Perfect, ladies and gentlemen. So I am going to start the evening with Thomas. Thomas, could you come on? Thomas, are you ready? As soon as you start, I'll start the timer.
All right. All right. Well, here we go. This story actually happened a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes I'm an extra on movie sets, TV sets, something like that. And because of the shutdown, all the production stopped. So after a long hiatus, I was back on a set, and first day I come on, I have an accident. Now, my role was to play some kind of refugee in some super ragged clothes, really dirty, super fun, and to run over some green screen. Like there's green screen in the background, and run over some green carpet. And I had to pretend like I was shot at. And there was also a wind machine blowing in my face. It was super cold, but it was super fun. So I was running, pretending I'm shot at. So I jump, try to dodge a bullet. I slip, and then I fall. And then I cannot move at all. Yeah, so everybody goes to lunch break, and I'm just lying there, waiting for an ambulance to arrive. And yeah, once the ambulance arrives, I get driven into the hospital, still wearing the costume. Everybody thought I was a homeless person. And yeah, they x-rayed my leg and it broke. And I had to get surgery that very day. Yeah, fast forward a couple hours and I wake up now having a metal plate in my leg with 4 screws. And it was quite painful, actually. And not the best time I ever had, to be honest. And yeah, so I had to spend a week in the hospital. And at least the food was good. And after that, my girlfriend had a wonderful time because she had to take care of me at my place for 2 weeks straight. And because now I have a metal plate in my leg, my mother said, well, her first thought was, well, now you have trouble flying because of the metal. And I just thought, yeah, actually I have trouble walking. So flying is way down my list of priorities at the moment. And we'll see how it goes.
Super, 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 super. Thank you. That's a lovely, lovely, lovely story. I can't imagine they left you lying there as they went after lunch. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we were shortly before the lunch break. They wanted to get the shot ready.
Okay.
And then the accident happened, and then
so they went off to lunch.
All right, lunch break. And I would have liked to join them, but unfortunately I couldn't.
Yes, okay, but that's a lovely story. And you're a refugee, you're homeless, you took on many characters in this story. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas is also, I've got to know him through comedy. He's been a stand-up comedian. I love his humor. He's got a very dry sense of humor. So, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you'll also see him on the comedy stage in Munich in the future. Now we're bringing on another storyteller, all the way from Peru, but in Germany. Aldo, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Aldo, as soon as you start, I will start the timer.
Okay, let's go. So this story, I went once to a circus, and there was a quite time before the show started. It was short before it started, and I wanted to get some popcorn, but I didn't because the packs, they were too big. So I sat there, and suddenly a young, pretty woman with her daughter arrives and sits next to me, and they were carrying a big pack of popcorn. So I wanted to socialize and maybe try some of her popcorn. So I said, can I try, I'm sorry, how does the popcorn taste? Later on, she told me she didn't want to share her popcorn at all, but she wanted to be polite. So she decided to offer me some popcorn, and at the same time, she made the movement of her hand to hand me out the popcorn bag. And now what's the story happened that for some reason, her hand was like not ready for that movement so suddenly, and she realized that she started losing control of her hand, handing me out the popcorn bag. And this looked in slow motion like this. Do you want some? So by the word some, she tried to rescue what she was able to rescue, but it was not possible. By the word some, the whole popcorn landed all over my belly and my legs and half a meter around me. A big mountain of popcorn was just in front of me. So in that moment, I had now enough popcorn, and I was ready for the circus show. Thank you very much.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. I was really wondering, thank you very much, thank you very much. I was really wondering where it was going to go, because when you started off with a pretty woman and her daughter, I said, okay, now where's he going to take us with this story? But it just became a story of a mountain of popcorn. Lovely, Aldo. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Aldo has been on the Storytellers Night stage with us. He shared a story about him having gone to India and having Christmas India style. Right, Aldo, thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now the next person who I'm going to get into, Mel Kelly has been, what can I say about him? He's a tech person. He writes codes. He develops software. He does a lot of things as his day job. But he's also been a champion at speaking, at evaluating speeches, at impromptu speaking. He's been a European champion for many, many years. And then a few years back, Mel took a step, and he co-founded the Comedy Club Munich and entered the world of comedy. Mel, first question.
Who did I co-found it with? Who did I co-found it with?
Yes, that's yeah. Mel and I we co-founded, and a person called Carlo, we co-founded the Comedy Club Munich in 2014. Welcome to the 3-Minute Story Challenge. It's great to have you here. Right. Mel, you're frozen. Hello?
Good, I'll just turn off the video 1 second. Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you fine, Mel. That's okay. A problem with Zoom occasionally. So Mel, tell me, why comedy? What does it do for you?
Comedy, what does it do for me? Well, it's like when you stand on stage and give a speech, it's great to get attention. But I grew up with six brothers and sisters. To get a chance to speak for 3 or 4 minutes with 6 or 7 siblings, you didn't get an opportunity to speak unbroken for more than 20 seconds. So my first stage experience was speaking, then getting a chance to speak for 5 to 7 minutes. That was great. And then it was, what was the next challenge after that? And that was, the next challenge for me was comedy. Was that right? Try not just stand up on stage and tell a story, but tell a story and get people to laugh, and get people to laugh where you want them to laugh. So that was the next level.
Okay. The
next level of challenge for me.
Fine. I remember that day. Mel, could you put on a video? Let the people have a look at you as you're talking.
Yes, exactly. Let's see now. Let's hope it doesn't break my video connection. There we go. 1 second. Go.
I got you back. I remember that day, Mel. It was 2014. I even checked out 14th of January when Mel, I, and a person called Carlo, we stood in. It was snowing in the evening, and we asked each other what was our fear. And all 3 of us said stand-up comedy. So comedy seems to have a lot of trends and changes and tastes. Nowadays, stories seem to be what comedy wants. People share a lot of their own stories, and they try to bring in laughter. What is this trend about stories, and why is it there today?
I wouldn't say stories is a new trend. Well, it depends. There's different types of comedy. There's comedy that can be one-liners. There's comedy that can be stories. There's comedy that can be somewhere in between. And it depends on the comedian. There's many different styles. Like back in the 50s and 60s, it was jokes, just purely jokes. But then it morphed. And depending on the comedian, again, in the 80s, 90s, you had some comedians who were doing stories, like Billy Connolly from Scotland. He was very story-based. You had others, comedians that were very one-liner based, for example, and some were just purely joke-based. So stories has been there as a feature for a long time. It just depends on the comedian. Some use it more and some use it less. Okay, so is it somehow becoming more popular nowadays? Well, it's hard to say, because it's hard to say. I mean, there are some that like the one-liners still. There's some that like just the pure jokes, and there's some who like the stories. Perhaps a thing that's changing is this more personal stories and revealing this thing of vulnerability and all that good stuff that we love in storytelling world. A lot of this is now creeping into the comedy world, where people are sharing these vulnerable stories and sharing their fears and insecurities. But the difference perhaps with comedy is that they share it in a way not to get the audience to cry and reach them that way, but perhaps to try and reach them a different way, which is through the medium of humor. So you can hear some fairly tragic stories. Like they say, the best comedy is the comedy that can mix tragedy and humor together. Some people will say that's the best form of comedy. And this is where people will be telling tragic stories, maybe about parents dying or children dying or whatever, but they somehow seem to be able to find the humor in it as well. So this is a form of humor, a form of storytelling, and it's a popular form in the comedy world. Difficult to get right, because the more tragic the topic it is, the more difficult it is to find the humor in it. Okay, thanks, Mel. We'll be coming back to you. We'll go back to a bit more stories, a couple of stories, and then we'll get back to you. But thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Mel. Right, thank you very much. That was excellent. Now we are going to go back to a 3 minutes challenge story. And our next storyteller is Inike. Inike, I'm going to share my screen with you just one moment. Whenever you start, Inike.
I'm telling you guys this story because of current events. You will see as it develops. It happened exactly 23 years ago when I was 23 and I was fed up with Belgium and I moved to Denver, Colorado. And so these are the Rocky Mountains and not the Alps. After 2 weeks there, my host mom seemed to think that I needed to have some social interaction. So she set me up on a date. Well, you know, if your host mom has to set you up on a date is one thing, but the thing is, I had a date on a Friday evening with a tall and handsome Canadian. And let me tell you that the date with the Canadian was not the most interesting or memorable thing that happened that evening, because I went by bus. My host mom and I poured over the bus schedule for about half an hour until we figured out the best connection. There was a glitch though. I had to change at the Cherry Creek Mall. Upon arrival at the Cherry Creek Mall, I was completely dumbfounded. The bus station was a bit larger than expected. The bus schedules were very complex, and I had no idea when my bus was coming, and I think I must have missed it, but I didn't know and I wasn't sure. But I'm always lucky. There's a man, middle-aged man, average guy in a polo shirt, sitting on a bench at the bus stop. I'm thinking, he's local, he's waiting for the bus, I can ask. So I go up there and say, sir, I'm sorry, excuse me, I have to go to 18th and Market, and I can't figure out the schedule. So he looks at the schedule, he looks at his watch, he looks at the schedule, he looks at me, and he says, you probably missed it, and the next one is in 20 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna be late for my date. Then the man asks me, where are you from? And I'm thinking, well, people normally say that my English is really good and that they don't notice immediately that I have an accent. So I'm a bit miffed, and I ask him why. And his reply is, because an American girl looking like you would not ask a man looking like me for directions or for help. I came to the States believing it was a melting pot. I was 23, I was naive. I was for the first time in my life encountered with the fact that there are certain differences in other countries. And so I tell the guy I'm from Belgium, and he tells me he's a huge fan of Hercule Poirot. And so we spent 20 minutes talking about Hercule Poirot and not about why a white girl cannot ask a black man for directions. And if you want to know about my date with the Canadian, stay tuned for next time.
Woo! Woo! Enike, you showed your expertise. You brought us right to that last second. I mean, it is fantastic. What a lovely story. Thank you very much. And very topical. It also, to an extent, to what's happening in the world right now, or maybe in the US, everybody seems to be getting up with that. Thank you very much. Excellent topic. Ladies and gentlemen, that was really lovely. And we want to hear about that date with the Canadian. You know?
Oh, and especially how I got home after the date. That'll be part 3.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, Enike is making it really suspenseful. We are all like rubbing hands, wanting to wait for that. Thank you very much, Enike. Really great of you. Enike has also been on the comedy stage in Munich. She's also a storyteller. She's a Toastmaster. She's also a winner at the European level for various talks and evaluations and all. Thank you once again, Enike.
I
only one.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going on to another storyteller of the evening. I want to say a big thank you to the gentleman who's coming up next. He and another person were really the people when they asked me questions about what he was doing with stories. We started this whole process of coming up to where we are today and having the 3 minutes story challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Paul. Paul, please come on.
So good evening.
On the virtual stage.
I'm going to tell you a short mystery. And what makes a mystery exciting? You have to have a cat in the middle of it, don't you? Well, many, many years ago, I had a cat named Barney. And Barney would wait on the porch of the house when I would come home in the evenings. And frequently he would be there to greet me. And one evening when I came home, there was Barney in the distance, generally a lovely blue-eyed, white-haired cat. But as I approached the porch and he was waiting for me there, I could see he was not the same. Something was wrong. He was pure silver. I was shocked. And I got closer and I got closer and I kept looking at him and he's looking up at me and he meows. And I reached down to pet him and my fingers turned silver. What on earth is going on with this cat? He seemed perfectly fine. He went about his business. He was just having a normal evening, but he looked so unusual. And the next day and the next day after that, I began to see each day he was losing some of that gray and becoming a white cat again. But I couldn't get over that shock of seeing him transform into a silver cat. Well, by the weekend, he was back to being a white cat, and I walked out to visit with him in the morning, and my neighbor came over and said, I need to talk with you about your cat. And I was ready for anything. I had no idea what would come next. And he said, your cat paid me a visit during the week. In fact, he paid me a visit in the middle of the night. I was dead asleep in my bed with my hand hanging off to the side, and I woke up with something licking my hand. And I jumped out of bed and I looked across and there was your cat. And I led him to the door and put him outside. And a few hours later when I woke up, all around my apartment, there were paw prints with silver powder everywhere, but the most was at the base of the chimney in the fireplace. And that was the way the mystery got solved. Barney had climbed up on the roof, had peeked down into the chimney and fell in and landed in a pile of ash and roamed around my neighbor's house. That was not very nice of him. Found his way out, and when I got to see him, it was just as he was getting out of that ash hole, so to speak. So anyhow, mystery solved. It wasn't all that bad, but a crazy experience nonetheless.
Fantastic, fantastic. I love the way you did. Paul, I must say it's beautiful. The way you tell a story is as if you have all the time in the world. There's no rush to things. You move it around very casually. You settle it down. It's fantastic. I really love hearing stories from you. I love it. Thank you very much. And that cat of yours, great cat. I like. At least the curiosity didn't kill that cat to admit in silver. Oh, right. Ladies and gentlemen, as some of you know who've been visiting us before, and just for the persons who are coming in now, the idea, we have seen one thing about our show is that it's been growing. There have been people coming in from different countries and getting involved here. People from different countries have also shared their stories. And when I say different countries, I don't mean the people who are living in Germany, but are from different countries, actually from different countries. People have been sharing the story. So we've had this whole thing about bringing in people and making it kind of more international, and this having a talk with somebody. So next time we're going to have a talk with a person who's presently in Chennai. He's a budding, enthusiastic screenwriter, and Chennai is the capital of Tamil Nadu in India, and it's also the capital of the Tollywood industry. So the Tollywood industry is the second biggest in India after the Bollywood industry. And this person has also been in Germany, so he's been exposed to Western script writing and everything. So we hope to have him on the 19th. We won't be here on the 12th, and have him share concepts about screenwriting, script writing for screens, and also what's the differences within stories from these two countries and cultures. But before we go out, let's bring in Mel Kelly again. Mel, where are you? Yes, there you are. Thank you, Mel. Thank you for waiting. Mel, what are you going? You're going to be sharing a story with us, isn't that true?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Good thing. But tell me, Mel, there's one thing. A very common thing in storytelling is the hero's journey. So when you talk about storytelling, you have structures. There are different structures, but this is one of them. In comedy, is there also a structure you would be following when you're teaching comedy, the storytelling art of comedy?
Well, I don't teach comedy. I do.
No, I'm telling people, would you be doing it? Yeah, I know that.
You can use it. You can use story. I mean, you use whatever. I mean, there's many different storytelling structures. So, I mean, yes, hero's journey is one of those. But,
Yes. So, but
I mean, the hero's journey, that was a bit too much storytelling because there's a message, and the character has changed, and you know,
yes.
the world has changed, and you're making the world a better place, and you have a message there, and that sort of stuff is a bit too much for comedy. Most
comedy.
people, when they go to a comedy show, are not looking for a message or a moral or whatever. You know,
Right. And comedy would also have the main point of comedy would be to bring the laugh, to get the laugh.
Well, that's one level of it. That's the first level. I mean, you know, you can once you got people to laugh, then you can start experimenting with other things as well. But that's
What do you mean other
things?
things?
Well, maybe make them think, maybe make them feel, maybe make them feel better about their lives. Maybe we explore people's insecurities or your own insecurities, and make other people feel that it's okay to have those insecurities as well. So this is perhaps the next level. So I would say the first, for me anyway, the first level is you can make people have a good time, make them laugh. And maybe then the second level is then maybe with some sort of message in there. Maybe it's a political, maybe it's social critique, maybe it's political critique, maybe it's, you know, it's one of the universal truths of life that, you know, getting people more comfortable or uncomfortable with their own fears and insecurities. And it's, you know, it's okay to have these things because a lot of us have those things.
And comedy is also used nowadays a lot to entertain. And Mel is going to do an infotainment with, may I say that, the green pill?
That's right, yeah.
Right. Sadly, we won't be able to go too much into that, but you're going to do something, and it's a very interesting thing. Do you want to give 2 minutes and then straight away get into your story? Because we don't have much time.
Let me do the story first, and then we can talk.
Okay, then should I put on the timer, or would you like?
Off you go.
Okay, just give me a minute. Right on, Mel, whenever you start.
25 years ago, on holidays in Mallorca, 3 Irish guys, me and my 2 buddies, we're in a nightclub, the music is blaring and the beer is flowing. What else do we have but a drinking game? And who lost? I lost. And when you lose a drinking game, well, then you have a dare which you have to do. And the other 2 guys laughed. They knew exactly what dare they had in store for me. You see, on the flight over on the plane, we saw a movie called Dogfight. A Dogfight is a movie from the 80s, and it's about US Marines when they're on shore and the bad behavior that they get up to. And one of the bad behaviors that they get up to is they go out picking up girls, but not just any girls, but they pick up the ugliest girls that they can find, and then they bring them to a dinner date, and they have a competition amongst themselves to see who has the ugliest date with them that night. But pretty bad behavior. In the movie, the twist was one of the guys brings back this ugly girl, and in the end he falls in love with her, and that's how the movie develops on. So that was the twist in the movie. This movie was fresh in our mind in our nightclub in Mallorca. I had just lost the drinking game, and the guys thought, well, what else could we do to as a dare for Mel? We had noticed on the way in, there was this girl who had stood out on the way in, and it was not really for her beauty. She was tall, not so pretty, and in fairness, she probably looked a bit more like a man. Maybe she was a man. Well, who knows? I had lost the bet, and the dare was I had to ask her to dance. It's difficult to avoid this. Small club, the guys are going to see what I'm doing or not. So I decided I have to approach her. I make the eye contact. I walk over to her. I smiled at her. She smiled back. Oh my goodness, as I got closer, I realized she really wasn't a beauty. I could hear my friends laughing. Even over the music, I could hear them laughing. So as I got closer, I got talking to her, and then I asked her to dance. And then she said no. She had a boyfriend. Are you serious? How can you afford to say no? And then, well, I said, okay. I was thinking, what? Rejection. I couldn't go back to the guys like this. So I thought I'd continue and stay and talk to her. But then she got distracted and she said she had to go talk to her friends. Oh, another rejection. I couldn't go back to my friends. So I took the long walk back. On the long walk back, there was toilets. I went into the toilets. I went into the cubicle. I hid. And then I heard some people come in. And I heard some voices. And there was a lot of light in toilets. And I saw somebody go into the urinal. I thought I recognized them. Time is up.
Mel, you missed out. You missed out. Oh, we're never going to know what happened. Oh, so sad. So sad. But thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the second time it's happened at an event where the person's mic has been muted. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been told we have got 1 minute left. So I want to thank you. We're not coming on on the 12th of June. We're coming back on the 19th of June and then 26th of June. Mel, do you want to promote your event or would you like to leave it at that?
Well, we're still working. It's still a work in progress, basically, but it's using humor to get the message, the green message out there. So it's an interesting challenge. It's about you combining comedy and using the form of comedy to get a serious message out. And this is what this project is, the Green Pill Project. So this is a work in progress at the moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, our four storytellers, Inike, Thomas, Paul, and Aldo. Thank you very much. We'll have the video up. We'll send it to you. Have a great weekend. Bye.